Looking for an escape to nature? Ready to embrace wellness? From yoga and detox spa retreats to awakening journeys and corporate team building, let Muse Flower Retreat and Spa be your muse. Whether you seek relaxation, transformation, or a space to hold your own retreat, Muse Flower is here for you. Nestled in peaceful Chiang Rai, Thailand, Muse Flower Retreat and Spa is an all-inclusive sanctuary for healing, learning, and natural living, offering yoga, meditation, wellness, or simply a mindful green space to recharge. You are welcomed. Immerse yourself in holistic retreats and workshops designed to awaken your creative energy. Enjoy organic vegetarian cuisine, spa therapies, and creative workshops, all in a tranquil, eco-conscious setting. Founded by wellness expert Tanya Ho, Muse Flower Retreat and Spa is designed to nurture creativity and well-being. You don't have to be a yogi to feel at home here. Come as you are. Wellness never felt so good. Book your retreat today at Muse Flower Retreat and Spa and use code REN10, that's WREN 10, to get £10 off your first booking. Welcome to the Inquisitive Wren podcast. I'm Sha, your host. Join us as we explore diverse perspectives on the human experience, offering insightful interviews and deep reflections on philosophy, spirituality, psychology, from a bird's eye view on the essence of being. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Inquisitive Wren podcast with me, Sha, your host. Today, I'm pleased to welcome Lisa Erickson, who's an energy worker and a meditation teacher specializing in women's energetics and sexual trauma healing. She's the author of Chakra Empowerment for Women and Art and Science of Meditation, both published by Llewellyn. Lisa is a certified mindfulness meditation instructor, and she helps with trauma sensitivity. And she's trained in a variety of energy healing and somatic modalities, and that includes a lot of things which she'll tell you all about. She's also a certified facilitator in other areas, which she'll tell you all about, with the Breathe Network, which is a non-profit dedicated to supporting holistic healing and healers for all sorts of trauma, but particularly for sexual trauma. Lisa is very passionate about her work. You will see that throughout the interview, and she shares with us very practical tips in how to heal your energy. In this interview, I thought it was really important to focus on chakras. It's a really good place to start, especially if you're new to anything to do with energy work. So she takes us through each chakra, what they mean, what they do, how they can help you, how it may feel when it's out of line or when your chakras are unaligned. And she takes us through a lovely, very short, but very succinct and very healing meditation to do with different parts of you and different chakras, particularly the navel chakra, which is fantastic. We talk a little bit about Kundalini and how that can help and how it affects your energy, what that's all about. And Lisa shares with us her journey into this work. Like many of us who work in this field, we have had other careers and continue to do so. And sometimes this work just isn't about doing it all the time, like a regular 9 to 5. Sometimes many of us definitely have other work that we do. And again, that helps to balance the energy. Ruthie Phillips, one of my good friends who I interviewed on the show, I'll put the link to the interview. She is a clairvoyant medium. She is very, very knowledgeable in all aspects of spirituality. And Ruthie on that podcast talked about how she made an agreement when she started working with spirituality and with spirit, that she would do both. She'd have her earthly work and she'd have her other work, which creates a balance for her. But also it affects your own energy and how much and how effective you can be in helping other people. My personal view is that that's the healthiest way to go. Doing spiritual work all the time, I don't believe, is very helpful for our human energy earthbound bodies. It's very different work from the human experience, being human on this earth plane. So when you step into a spiritual or energetic realm, especially if you're working energetically, spiritually, and I suppose in mediumship or in psychicness or whatever that may be, energy healing, crystals, all of it, you can become so spiritually up there that you're no earthly good down here. And we've seen people, I certainly have met people and seen people in that position where they're way off. They've lost a lot of that connection with the earth plane. And so when that happens, I believe you become a lot more judgmental, a lot more intolerable, a lot more likely, I would say, to be susceptible to problems in your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health. And so having that balance is helpful. So without further ado, let's welcome Lisa Erickson to the show. I'd just like to remind you all to click that like button wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching. On YouTube, leave us a comment. It really does help with the algorithm and to push the podcast forward. If you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or any streaming platform, please do the same. Like the video, share it as well, and leave us a 5-star review or any review, whatever you're thinking. Feedback is welcome. Thank you for your support. So Lisa, thank you so much for joining me. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Sha. Really appreciate the invitation.
Now, I want to really delve into the chakras. And I love that word, don't you? Chakra. Mm-hmm. It's got a lot of lovely energy in it. Can you tell our listeners, for those who don't know anything about chakras, you may have heard the word before, tell our listeners what chakras are. And how do they connect to us? How are they connected to us?
Well, first, that word, that lovely word, as you said, chakra, is a Sanskrit word, so from ancient India, and it literally translates as wheel of light. So we have these wheels of light within us. And it's interesting, though, because chakra or energy center mappings haven't just come to us from India. There have been energy center mappings from all over the world, and they don't all use that word, but it's amazing how similar they are. And really, we have a column of main chakras up the center of our body. They kind of align with our spine from our tailbone all the way up to the top of our head. And then we have smaller energy centers all throughout our body. But myself and most people that work with the chakras really focus on those main ones up the center of the body. And they're like our organs in our subtle body anatomy, like our stomach and our heart. These main energy centers are like the main organs in our energy body. And I like to think of them as they're this middle level between our physical body, our psyche, and our spirit. So energy medicine traditions map each chakra to parts of our body for healing purposes. And psychological and spiritual traditions map them to emotional states and spiritual vibrations. And so you can kind of work holistically, right? We use this word holistic, with your whole self through the chakras. And that's really why I love them.
So is that why you think people talk about them being balanced? If we're looking at the whole, what does it mean for chakras to be balanced?
I think within each chakra, usually when we're using that word balance, we mean it's in a healthy state. Just like an organ in your body, you want your heart to be healthy, right? And then all of them in relationship to each other, you want to be balanced. You want to have a healthy balance of energies between all of them, just like in your physical body. You want balance between all your physical systems. So there's a lot of different ways that we approach balance.
Yes, and that brings me to the issue of working with women
Mm.
and men. When we look at energy work and chakras, is there a difference?
It really does. And what of that is nature versus nurture is, of course, an open question. It may change over time. But because the energy body does connect to our physical body and there are physical differences, there are differences, especially in the lower chakras. Just to give you an example from energy medicine, every chakra links to a gland. And so they're all, six of them are the same, right? The throat chakra links to the thyroid, the heart chakra links to the thymus, the navel chakra links to the pancreas, the root chakra to the adrenals. But the second chakra that's linked to the sex organs differs. For women, it's ovaries, the gland. For men, it's prostate. And so the second chakra also then has some energetic differences that ripple through the whole system that you need to be aware of. And in general, what I find is women's energy bodies, and this comes down to us from a lot of teaching, ancient texts too. Women's energy bodies tend to be more absorbent, more yin, more in receptive, and men's tend to be more emanating. That means women sometimes need to work more on energetic boundaries. We tend to be more empathic and pick up energies. And men tend to need to work more on fluidity. There can be a rigidity to their energy body. So lots of times I'm focusing on boundaries for women, fluidity for men. But of course, there's a lot of variation based on someone's personal experience in life that may impact that. It's not really set in stone.
That makes a lot of sense as well, especially around the fluidity for men. When we look at something like stress, anxiety, worry, how would you approach helping someone to learn to deal with stress through perhaps energy work or chakras?
I find what's the most helpful, and of course there's so many tools for working with stress, is to really identify how you feel it physically and energetically in your body. So first helping someone to tune in to a memory when they felt particularly stressed and say what happened in your body as that anxiety or stress spiked. And they might say, oh, I realize I clench my jaw, I hunch my shoulders, my stomach starts to hurt. Well, there's an energy component to that. So then we can tune into, okay, there's this constriction in your stomach as an energy. Let's work with the navel chakra, the closest chakra, and bring another kind of energy there. And you can really teach people how to do this in a meditation practice at home, but eventually, right in the moment, you can catch it. And you have a tool to shift your energy right in that moment. It takes time, but that's part of the work, is these in the moment tools. And then I think the other tool is sort of more long-term work. How do you respond to stress, the patterns you have, and working with that to create some new patterns. When you're feeling overwhelmed, how to work with a new way of responding.
So, Lisa, when you were doing your sort of training, or even let's go a bit further back, because a lot of people come into this work later in life. I'm finding that there are younger people now really getting into energy work. But what were your initial aspirations for a career?
Yeah, I'm about to turn 58, and the first 15 years of my career were actually in technology in New York City. Very, very different. But guess what got me into meditation and energy work? Stress. I was having headaches and stomach aches in my 20s that the doctors really could not find a reason for. And although it was unusual at the time, because it's 35 years ago, right? One finally recommended meditation, yoga, and I found a class that just it turned out, I wasn't necessarily looking for this, but this is how it works, that was a chakra-based meditation class. So that really changed my life, because tuning into those energies helped me physically. And then also, because the chakras also deal with personal transformation and spirituality, sent me on this other journey. And eventually I changed careers. Actually, after I had another health incident after I had my first child. So then I was healthy for many years and then had a health incident that again had me turning to other tools. So I think that's often how it unfolds for people. Now I've been doing this for 20 years. So
what a change, a real
yeah.
change in direction. But I suppose maybe the metaphysical people out there would say metaphysics. They would say, well, actually, you were in technology. You were doing, it's all relative in some way. Energy is energy. And yeah.
I agree. I really sometimes think of the chakras as energy technology. It is our own technology that we can use, right? And we just don't know it. So it's really about learning your own technology and these tools that are available to you.
Never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button right now. Thank you for your support. You make this podcast possible. Now, back to the show.
You know, a lot of people think because somebody like yourself who does this work, that every day for you, life is relaxed and calm and all sorted. Life is perfect now. And you never get stressed. You never have any issues. You know the answer to it all. And so then now you can just focus on helping other people. What would you say to someone who thinks that?
I would say life is life. And the life, that's, I have 3 kids in their 20s and things are happening in their lives and they've been up and they've been down. I have elderly parents and they've been sick and they've been well, and I need to balance caring for them and my kids and my own career. And so this is the reality of life, right? Reality is that there is always things occurring. You can't control everything. And these skills aren't about being able to 100% be able to control your world. You can influence your world because you get more adept at sensing and influencing energies in an ethical way. But what it really helps you with is not so much controlling your external world, but managing your internal reaction. So I think of it as like surfing. Like now when something happens that maybe would have knocked me over and sent me into stress or insomnia many years ago, it would have been just a little wave. Now I can withstand a big wave and work through it without that happening. So your ability to withstand the things that life throws at all of us gets better and better.
I like what you just said about it's not about controlling your external world. It's about, well, understanding, learning, dealing with your internal reactions. That's a really good way to put it.
And then you can meet the moment in a different way. Something bad or challenging has happened. Instead of just reacting out of fear or out of your conditioned patterns, you can stay calm and choose what is going to be the most helpful reaction in this moment. What is going to be the most strategic reaction in this moment, right? And really think that out and feel that. And also not have your body spike into a stress response that's bad for your health. So that you can control. No one can take that away from you, but it does take practice.
Yes, that is key, isn't it? And that's why I like the idea of a meditation practice, a yoga practice. That, because it is exactly that. It's a practice. It's not something you do one day and that's it. It's always one and done.
Exactly. It's like if you want to be stronger, to be able to lift something, right? So we don't expect that you go to the gym once and now you're strong enough to lift something heavier, right? We realize you have to build those muscles up over time. That's really what your meditation practice is this opportunity in a protected environment to build up your ability to let thoughts go, to let emotions ride through you. If you're doing chakra meditation, to strengthen your connection to different energies in a protected, quiet place, so that when you're out in the world and everything is happening, you have that strength, you have that ability, right? So I think it's this balance of the practice at home and then out in your world, trying to remember to use those tools.
When we talk about energy work, some people bring in things like crystals, incense, water, the elements. Is that something you do as well in your practice?
Not so much in my practice, but at home I do have them, and I will sometimes talk with a client about how they might want to utilize that. From my perspective, we're focused on maybe with a particular individual clearing or strengthening certain chakras depending on what's going on for them. And every chakra is linked to different colors, different vibrations, different crystals, different flowers, different herbs. So most of my work is focused on helping people with their own awareness go in and strengthen that chakra. But you can use these external aids to help strengthen them because vibrationally they associate with that. That isn't my main way of working, but I do think it's helpful. And what I find is everyone has different things that click for them. So for some people, color really helps them, right? For some people, crystals really help them. For others, not so much. So it's really about helping someone find what helps you connect to energy, what helps you connect to empowering a particular energy you want more of in your subtle body and in your life.
Yes, and then some people will use nothing. They'll just sit.
Exactly.
I want to talk about your book, though. So you're the author of Chakra Empowerment for Women and The Art and Science of Meditation. Now, the two kind of can go hand in hand. So I want to ask you, first of all, how did you get to become an author? Do you feel as though you were drawn to it? Because authors often say, I just felt I had a book in me. I just felt I needed to write. What was the process for you?
I do like to write, but really the first book, Chakra Empowerment for Women, came out of the workshops and private session work that I was doing. I wanted to create a resource that sort of compiled it all. And at first I wasn't sure, is this going to be a self-published book that I just give to my clients to help guide our work together, or I use for workshops? But I thought that I would send it out, and I did, and I was very fortunate that Llewellyn was interested. So that it really grew out of my work. So it wasn't so much a compulsion of like, I have to write a book. It was more like, oh, I've been doing these workshops for all these years. I've developed these particular activations, this way of working with women, and I want to get it down in an organized way. So that's kind of that. And then they saw my background with meditation and asked me to write the other meditation book. Yeah.
Right, which takes us to the art and science of meditation. So tell us about this book. What do people get from reading this book?
Yeah, so in Chakra Empowerment for Women, you're focused on these 12 tools, right, that aren't only meditation, they're also in daily life. And Art and Science of Meditation, it's really focused on for someone who already has some experience with meditation. How do you take it deeper? Right? Meditation has really been a foundation of my life now for 35 years. So I was really trying to write a sort of book that was across all different meditation styles, not just focused on one, and really trying to help someone understand how you might take it deeper for health, for personal transformation, for spirituality. What do all the different teachings on meditation have to tell us about that?
I wonder if people out there, if maybe you could help them, if they're thinking, okay, I've tried meditation, I find it hard, I find it difficult, I can't, my mind is going. What would you say to someone who's just starting? Maybe they've tried it before, it's been difficult. What would be the easiest and the best way to start so that there's no pressure?
Well, start in small increments, but I think the main thing is sort of reframing it. People have this idea they should sit down to meditate, and if their mind isn't still, that means they're bad at it, right? And they'll be like, I'm a bad meditator. And I'm like, no, I've been doing this 35 years. Depending on what's going on in my life, I may sit down and have a meditation where I'm pulling my mind back to my object of focus that day, whether it's a chakra or whatever kind of meditation, my breath I'm doing over and over, right? Because I'm stimulated. Something's going on in my life. I'm very, that is the work. Each time you pull your thought back, your mind wanders and you go, oh, I'm supposed to be focusing on my breath or this candle flame or my heart chakra. Every time you pull your mind back, that's a meditation push-up. That's the work. You're trying to build that level of your brain, the level that pulls you back to self-awareness and centering. And so if you spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you have, pulling your mind back 100 times, great. You pulled your mind back 100 times. You've strengthened that part of your brain. And that's the most valuable thing you can do.
That's really good advice. I like it. Small increments, because that will help and take some of the pressure off, I think. Because a lot of people feel they see the images all over the place of people in the lotus position, or they're going to transcend somehow, and really no expectations, do your best and see what you get out of it, I think.
Yeah. And we know some things that can help is to tie it, if you're trying to develop a new habit, like you want to do it daily or weekly, to build it into your routine, tie it to some other habit you already have, right? So if, you can literally be like, okay, I'm just going to do this for 5 minutes after I brush my teeth, right? So you tie it to something you already do, and we know that habit research will help you build that in. Once you've done it for 8 to 12 weeks, it becomes habitual. You don't have to think about it anymore. And that's what I do with the chakra activation work too. I'll be like, focus on your heart chakra in the shower, right? Like pick a chakra and focus on it while you're doing something else that you already do every day. It's somewhere. It's someplace to start, right? Someplace to start.
That's a really good idea, actually. If you link it in, then it becomes a part of, so it doesn't feel so new anymore. It's like it's linked in. Just going back to the chakra book as well, chakra empowerment. Why empowerment? What is it about the chakras that can help empower someone?
Well, this really goes back to what you mentioned earlier about technology, right? Like this is an energy technology. It's there inside of you. So empowerment means this isn't about someone, healing you. I mean, there is this, and I do distance healing, as I know you do too. Yes, it's possible for someone to direct energy into you that aids your healing. But the ultimate empowerment is for you to learn how to activate this technology inside yourself. And once you learn that, you don't need anyone else to do it for you, right? That's empowerment. And that's really what I want people to get to, a place where they're working with this technology themselves.
Let's take a quick break from the show. And if you're enjoying today's episode of the Inquisitive Rin podcast, we'd love your support. Leaving a review, hitting that like button, and subscribing on your favorite platform not only helps us grow, but also ensures you never miss an inspiring conversation. Your comments mean the world to us. They spark new ideas, they connect us with incredible guests, and keep the energy flowing. Whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or watching on YouTube, or listening on your favorite platform, take a moment to share your thoughts and spread the word. Together, we're building a community that celebrates curiosity, growth, and transformation. Thank you for being a part of the Inquisitive Rin. Now, let's dive back into today's episode. And it sounds like in your practice as well, what you're doing is you're giving people the skills. You're helping them to learn the skills so that they can go off and do it for themselves, as opposed to fixing them. Because a lot of people will come along, especially for energy healing. But, for something like energy healing, chakra balancing, or cleansing, to think, yes, the practitioner will do it all for me. Well, yes, of course, you're the conduit. But it sounds like what you're saying is, I show you how to do it.
Exactly. It's almost like a personal trainer, a personal energy trainer, And especially at the beginning, I may be supporting them a lot. And if things happen in their life later down the road that are challenging, they may come back and I help them again and we do some distance healing. But really the goal is to help people learn these tools for themselves. Absolutely.
And I'm really glad you just mentioned distant healing because a lot of people struggle with the concept. But somehow if you link it into the energy healing, you can't see that energy. And so that distance, you can't see either. And I think as a healer, you're not looking at the distance. So but can you, from your perspective, tell the listeners how that works for you?
Well, everything is energy. Right? And where our energy goes is linked to where our intention is and our attention is. So someone who can do distance healing has developed really a high level of intention and attention when it comes to energies and can kind of direct them. It's like turning a beam of light from over here to over here and pointing it there. It's a skill that you can learn. And it isn't, energy is not dependent on absolute proximity, right? It is, this level of energy is directed through awareness. My attention right now is on you. We're having an energetic exchange. Every time you talk to someone, you're having an energetic exchange, right? So this is kind of just a whole nother level of energetic exchange.
Let's talk about boundaries, energy boundaries. And boundaries are a buzzword at the moment. I think with the onslaught of the internet, everything is a bigger word than it is. These words used to be, confined to a therapeutic space. But now they're everywhere. And I find that some people everybody has their own definition of boundaries. Mm. When we talk about energetic boundaries, can you explain how or why it's important to have energetic boundaries?
Yeah. For me, when I'm really focused on energetic boundaries, I'm focused on helping people not take on the emotions or energy of others without realizing it. Many of us, especially women, have a tendency to do that. There's a lot of reasons for that. The more sensitive energy body that we talked about earlier. Also, our conditioning to maybe people please, to be responsible for others' emotions. Someone who has had an abusive childhood, we know, is more likely to be constantly hypervigilant, monitoring other people's emotions. So what happens, though, is that we don't realize we're not just noticing their emotions. We may have developed a pattern of taking them on. So you sit next to someone on the bus who's angry, you don't realize it. You get off the bus and now you're irritable. You were perfectly happy before. This kind of thing happens all the time. So energetic boundaries for me, in terms of empowerment, is mostly about anchoring in a way where you have a kind of what I call a second skin, an energy filter that can still sense energies, but you do not absorb them. And I root that in the root chakra and the navel chakra. The first and third chakra are focusing on those to create this energy boundary is really one of the most effective things that someone can learn to do. And I think there's other levels of energetic boundaries. There's protection boundaries and many other things, but that's kind of the everyday boundary, not picking up energy from your environment and taking it in to impact yourself. That's really the goal.
You just mentioned the navel chakra. So for others, what would be another name for it?
The third chakra, and many people instead call it the solar plexus chakra. In various energy center mappings, that third chakra, it covers that whole area, right? Navel to rib cage, the whole stomach area. I prefer to focus on the bottom of it at the navel. Some people prefer to focus in the middle. It's the same chakra either way. A lot of the Kundalini yogic traditions actually use the navel as the third, and then the sacral is down in the pelvic bowl and the root, at the tailbone. So that third chakra, there are differences in where you focus, but it still really always covers the digestive system, personal power, self-confidence and self-assurance, that our relationship to self, etc.
So Kundalini. Now, have you done some Kundalini work?
Yeah, I mean, my own spiritual traditions do involve raising the Kundalini. It's not the main focus of my energy work, but sometimes I have people come to me who maybe have had spontaneous Kundalini experiences. They need help balancing that energy, things like that.
Yes, very powerful. Very, very powerful work. For listeners who are thinking, yes, okay, I hear all this work about, or this talk about chakras, how do I even begin? So if they want to begin, of course, they can refer to your book. They can go to your website. And by the way, all the links to Lisa's website, her social media will be in the show notes. So go and follow her, go to her website. But also, would you have courses, or how could they even take instruction from you?
Yes, I do also regularly do online workshops, so that's another way to learn. And I think there's also a lot of different guided chakra meditations available. I have some on my website, but I also think different things strike for different people, right? So go out there and explore. Find a guided meditation on an app or a website and see what you gravitate to. And I think that's the best way to get started. Start simple. Often the heart chakra is the best, and find your doorway in, right? Is it the elements? Is it meditation? Is it crystals? Find your doorway into connecting with energy.
And I would add to that, I think it's helpful to have a guide at first when you're starting this out. So maybe maybe a course from Lisa, or as she said, anywhere you're drawn to, any place you're drawn to. But try not to, it can become overwhelming for some people. They think they're doing it wrong or they're not quite sure. So if you're just starting out, maybe just take one of her courses online to just get used to it, or get used to the meditation, how it feels, what it's all about, what the chakras are about. And then maybe if you felt you wanted to move on. But would you agree that it's helpful to maybe have a guide? I know you don't have to, and many people go it alone.
No, I absolutely agree. And I'm just always sensitive to people having, financial constraints, etc. And I always want to say to people, something is better than nothing. So do what you can do. But yes, I absolutely agree in terms of getting the support if you can. And it's partially because we are not conditioned to feel these energies. For many of us, we've blocked them out our whole life because our culture does not support attention to them. So maybe you were a little kid and you would say, mention energies or things like that. And your parents may have sort of shut it down. Oh, that's your imagination, right? We're not attuned to noticing it. So most people do need a guide to understand as they start feeling these energies, as they focus on their chakras, what do they mean? And they need help feeling comfortable with it. And they need help understanding how to know which chakra might I focus on first based on what's going on for me. So I do think there's a lot. It can get very complex. And if you can get support, you should.
Absolutely, yes. And just on chakras as well, your book. Now, can you give us an example of something in your book that will show people how to start? And also, if you define what each chakra is and does or presents or represents for people, so they'll know what they're getting, what they'll take away.
Yes, should I walk through the 7, or is that too much?
That would be great.
Yeah, and you may have done that yourself on other shows too, but let's just walk through very quickly the 7 chakras and what they map to. And then what I often start with people is the heart. So we could just do a very quick focusing on the heart chakra and let people feel that. But if we're working with kind of the 7 from tailbone to crown of your head, that root or first chakra is linked to your physical body, feeling grounded, feeling safe in your body, feeling present, and material abundance, things like home and money, and your adrenals, your physical energy. So this is fast, but I think it gives people a sense, right? You can stop me at any time.
Please.
Yeah, the second in your pelvic bowl is linked to, as you might expect, sexuality and sensuality, but also creativity in terms of inspiration and fluidity, our ability to adapt. It's linked to the element water, just like this first chakra is linked to the element earth. So it has a lot more to do with emotions and fluidity and creativity. Then our third chakra, which as we just talked about is, this belly area, whether you focus at the navel like I do or the solar plexus, linked to fire, personal power, boundaries, confidence, our sense of self, also our mental focus, which people often think, oh, that would be the third eye. No, that has to do with beyond thought. Mental is like, navel is really, third chakra is where you really center in your mind if it's busy. This is a good one to focus on. Heart chakra in your chest, as you can imagine. Relationships, love and being loved, our capacity to love and feel compassion, our capacity to receive love, give and take, all of those dynamics. And also the heart and lungs, right? Then the throat chakra, as you can imagine, having to do with expression, but really authenticity, like what is talking or and listening, because it's also listening. It's like, how do you get your inside out? How do you get the outside in? It's communication. So it's about authenticity, your ability to show up authentically in the world, linked to the thyroid and sound. And then the third eye, which gets a lot of attention, linked to intuition, of course, and imagination and vision, but also stillness. It is linked to meditation. And then the crown on the top back part of our head is linked to belief, and it's often considered the spiritual chakra. But for someone, sometimes I do work with people that they're into energy almost from a science perspective, but not spirituality. So then the crown is really about your sense of meaning and purpose. What gives your life a sense of meaning? For some people, that may be their religious and spiritual beliefs. For other people, it could be other things, a philosophy or values in the world that they fight for. So that is linked to crown chakra as well. And these two are linked to your pineal and pituitary glands. So that's the whole thing. I'll stop there before we do the heart and see if you is that the same one mapping that you work with, or?
Absolutely. And that was a beautiful representation of the chakras as well. And no, this was the first time on this channel we've been through them.
Oh, okay, cool. Great.
Yes, so you're the first, and people will get a lot out of that. And I'll just quickly say that, guys out there, if it's your first time looking into chakras, you may find that there are more. So there's lower heart and lots of different chakras. But I would suggest focus on the main ones. The ones that, I think if you get used to those, feeling the energy, feeling what it's all about, then you can expand out into the world of other chakras. I mean, there's different thought patterns and thought beliefs about those chakras. Not everyone believes them. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and I work with more than those 7 for sure, right? But I do think those 7 are kind of a good place to start. And they're the most common. It's the most common mapping that you'll find. So it's easy to find material on those 7.
But yes, we'd be really pleased if you could take us through a heart chakra. Is it meditation or exercise?
Kind of activation. Maybe we should do navel and heart just to feel a difference there.
Nice.
And if that's okay. And just do it very briefly, like a minute each, because people can spend more time with it. You can hit pause if you're listening back, right? And spend more time on it. But so first, the navel, as I mentioned, I focus a little lower for the third chakra. Place your hands on your navel and really just below your navel, inside your belly, imagine a little candle flame, a little flame. We're going to activate the fire element in your third chakra. It is a little flame. Just breathe into this space and imagine as you focus here, the flame gets brighter, not bigger, but brighter. And as it does so, distraction begins to settle. You begin to center in this part of your body. And this little fire generates a golden light, a fire light through your whole body that purifies, because that's what fire does. It burns away any energy you've picked up. It's not helpful to you from outside or from other people. As you focus on this little flame in your belly, you really center into your own personal power, your own energetic integrity. You feel centered and calm. Good. Okay, so then stretch maybe to shift gears. Just a little taste of that one. And then this one will maybe hopefully feel a little bit different. We're going to do heart receiving. Now that we kind of have boundaries in place, you're safe. A lot of people have a hard time actually receiving in this world, like receiving everything they could be receiving. So just imagine rays of, let's do pink, because pink is, I do different colors for this one, but pink is such a gentle, beautiful color. soothing and nurturing. So soothing, nurturing pink light is pouring in. Rays of it are pouring into your heart chakra from every direction. Pouring into your chest from the front, from the back, the sides into your rib cage, diagonally, from above, from below. Nurturing, healing, pink light is pouring into your heart center from every direction. And it brings with it a sense of inner peace, feeling supported and loved, connected. As this light pours in, see if there's any resistance to receiving. This is all good things, so open to receiving all good things. It's only goodness pouring into your heart. And imagine it sort of overflows, like the bowl of your heart chakra is full and it overflows and begins to flow to every part of your body, into your head, your arms and fingers, down through your torso, into your legs and feet. Your whole body is full of this soothing, loving, peaceful pink light. Good. Okay, so we'll stop there. Hopefully those felt different, but I'll say to anyone for whom they didn't, it just takes practice.
That was lovely. And you have the voice for it.
Thank you.
That was absolutely lovely. And, if you sit long enough, you can literally just feel that pink. Well, you use pink today. If you're very visual, you can just see it coming through and floating down. So that was a perfect way to give you all out there just an example of what it's like. And as you can see, it took all of a minute. And it's something that you can incorporate into your lives every day. It doesn't have to be half an hour.
Exactly. And those two, getting back to stress that we started with, those are both really good ones for stress. The first one, the fire element in your belly, is about centering, cleansing, and then the heart is about soothing, calming down and receiving, calming your nervous system. So those two are both good ones to do for stress.
Yes, I like the combination as well, because once you're quite centered, then also with the heart, but then you can do some grounding. So can you tell us a little bit about grounding work? It's a big buzzword at the moment. Of course, those of us who work in this field will know all about it. It's literally the root of our, no pun intended, our work. Because if we're not grounded, it's very difficult to help other people.
Exactly. And if someone isn't grounded, it's difficult for them to receive help. If someone isn't grounded, like anchored in that root chakra, that first chakra, if they're sort of, I think of it as like floating up above it, then in a way nothing takes. There's a sense of like energy work doesn't take because they're not there for it, or physical healing. So if someone has a lot of health problems and is really like nothing works, I often find you need to work with grounding. They're not fully there, right? So it is everything. And for me, I think of it in terms of linking into that root chakra. It's usually something I'm working with almost everyone on, connecting to the earth, feeling like the earth beneath you is really emanating up, connected to our root chakra, because we're like a tree energetically. We have these energetic roots in the earth. And if they're strong enough, then when the wind comes, we don't blow over. If we don't have roots, then we do blow over, right? So, and blowing over means you get stressed, anxious, etc. So that root chakra is that foundation of feeling anchored and safe in your body. And the only reason I didn't do it as our guided meditation is that sometimes people have a hard time connecting that low in their body. So sometimes it's like the second thing I need to do, right? They can do heart and navel. And then the next session, we really start working on that root. But it really is everything. It's the foundation of the house.
People do find rooting very difficult. And that's why a lot of people they will call themselves spacey, or they're way out there. And it really is about grounding. Also, I mean, what are your thoughts on this? But I think even if you're somebody who finds it difficult to meditate or to sit and center yourself for a minute, you could take a walk. If you could get around nature and just take a walk in a forest or something, that can help to ground you and root you. What are your thoughts?
Oh my gosh, nature, I think, is such our helper. You know, our whole energy body, every chakra is linked to an element. And yes, the root is the earth. Time with a tree. I'm always telling people, go find a favorite tree, go for a walk, go stand by that tree and feel those roots. It seems silly, but also when you're walking, it's the feet contact, you know, and that just the foot, the pattern, this foot, that foot, this foot, that foot is anchoring. You know, and they've done so many studies on also how walking balances the brain because of the right-left pattern, you know. So really, I agree so much with that.
What types of practices help you every day in your everyday life?
Well, absolutely, meditation is a part of my daily life, and I don't think I could be an energy worker without it. So I do have a solid energy or a solid meditation practice. And then I use these chakra tools throughout my day. I have a boundary, you know, I'm using that navel fire between clients to make sure I'm not carrying their emotions, right? I want to help them, but not take on, right? I'm working with boundaries a lot. I'm working with centering in my heart, you know, so I work with my third eye a lot when I need to see something, right? Make a decision. So I use the chakras really as a way of working throughout my day.
Is there anything else you do? I mean, some people read, some people go on holiday, you may do all of that. I don't know, but
I do all of it. No, I do exercise. Yeah. And I used to be really into yoga. I had some wrist and shoulder problems. I'm now into Pilates. So a strong core is really important. Back problems run in my family, for example. So I know, okay, I need to really pay attention to my core because I may have that genetic proclivity, right? So that is important for me. And yes, I have dogs. I love to go walking them daily. That's really part of my clearing out routine. So I love to travel, and I am a big reader, and I just love to read fiction. Like, people think, oh, are you reading energy workbooks? No, I like to escape. So I read a lot of fiction. I read a lot of, you know, fantasy and science fiction, as well as just women's fiction. I just like stories. I like narrative and stories, and it's a great way to relax for me.
Yes, but what you also described just now was a very balanced life. That you've got your work, and then you've got your personal things you like doing. You talk about your family. So that's a mixture of things, and that's what life, I believe, these are my beliefs, I believe that it helps to have a mixture of things in life. I think some people that go into spiritual world, especially when they first start, we call it the spiritual world, it becomes all encompassing, and they drown in it. They get every book, every crystal, every oil, every smudge stick, everything.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. But you have to ground and be, because you're on the earth plane, so we do have to balance life.
Exactly. It can become almost a kind of disassociating, spiritual bypassing. And I understand, because we're so desperate for help, right? Sometimes people are really suffering. They discover the spiritual world. So there is this desire to just dive in. But then if you let go of, yes, real life and that balance, there's a price to that, right? You can't integrate that spiritual experience into living in this world. And that's the ultimate empowerment, right? You know, to be able to have a full life and make a living and have friends and loved ones and and exercise, and you want your spiritual growth to be empowering that as well.
But many people do struggle with that.
Yeah, and it's really about, that's what to me is empowerment, is empowering you to be able to handle those situations. Maybe it's a boundary issue if someone's energy you experience as abrasive. Maybe it's more letting go of control or just accepting, right? Which is a big part of spirituality. They're on their journey, I'm on mine. It's not my job to change their journey. If they ask for help, okay, right? So there's kind of taking that larger view. If your spiritual practice is not helping you deal with your regular life, then you really have to look at it. There could be some views there that aren't helpful, that need to be sorted out. But the whole idea is to move into, I don't like to say egolessness, I don't like that, but to come to a place of more love, right? We're really recognizing the essence of all beings is love. That's really the essence of all the traditions. So if your spiritual path is taking you into more separation and judgment, something is going on, right? That needs to be healed within yourself. Just, have everyone, let them be on their own journey, right? Not that if you see something wrong, you don't step in, but it isn't about judgment in that sense.
As we end, I wonder if maybe people who are struggling in that way, who are feeling like, okay, I feel like I'm on the right path, but actually life's very difficult at the moment. I can't do this, nothing's going right, or whatever they're thinking. What would be a good way for them to start to look at themselves? A gentle way, perhaps.
Yeah. It's hard. It really depends on what's going on for someone. But I think turning inward and really going, how am I reacting to what's happening around me? And is there something in my reactions that I can control? You have to find some hook into feeling empowered, right? So first, if you're really in crisis, focus on what's the one thing you can control. And maybe it's just internally, some reaction, not lashing outward, but internally. And then from there, seek the tools that help you feel empowered to shift inwardly. And then from there, seek the tools that help you connect externally, right? And to change your situation. Yeah.
That's a process. That's excellent. And I think you've just described how we might, as humanity, become more loving.
Yeah.
Become more loving to ourselves, but also to other people. Because if you lessen that judgment, it becomes kinder to others as well as to yourself. Yeah.
Right. And you can still seek change in the world, but it's how you go about it.
Lisa, thank you so much. Yes, I think we're all going to continue the chakra work. Those of you who already do it, and those of you who are new to it, I recommend you try it. Go to Lisa's website. There's lots of information up there. Follow her on Instagram as well.
The Breathe Network, but yes, Breathe Network. Yes, it is a nonprofit that helps to connect sexual trauma survivors with holistic healing methods and also provides a lot of healing resources for practitioners that work with sexual trauma survivors. So if that's applicable to anyone listening, I really encourage you to look at thebreathenetwork.org.
The Breathe Network. Lisa, thank you so much, and thank you for continuing to do the work that we really need. The world needs this work, so thank you.
Thank you, Sha, for the work that you're doing in the world, for inviting me, and for this lovely conversation.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Inquisitive Rin podcast. I hope you found it insightful. If you did, I'd love for you to share it with a friend who might enjoy it too. Don't forget to share it on social media. It really helps us reach more people who resonate with our content. If you haven't already, make sure to follow the show. It's the best way to stay connected and help our Inquisitive Rin community grow. I'd also love to hear from you. Leave a rating and a review to let me know your thoughts, and be sure to follow so you never miss the latest episodes or behind the scenes content from the Inquisitive Rin. Thanks again, and as always, stay curious.